I now have the pleasure to introduce today's luncheon keynote speaker. When you hear Tom Donahue speak, you hear him speaking on behalf of more than 3 million companies across the United States. As president of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and CEO of that body, he champions the interests of businesses large and small. Since assuming his current role with the U.S. Chamber in 1997, he has built the Chamber into a $200 million a year lobbying and political powerhouse with expanded influence across the globe. Under his leadership, the Chamber has helped knock down trade barriers, won free trade and fair trade agreements, and has fought isolationism at home and abroad. Thomas Donahue is a member of the President's Advisory Committee for Trade Policy and Negotiations. He's also president of the Center for International Private Enterprise, a program of the National Endowment of Democracy dedicated to the development of market-oriented institutions around the world. Please join me in welcoming Thomas Donahue.
Well, thank you very much, Scott. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to be here. In fact, this is the second time I've been in your town in 2 weeks. I was here last week for the annual meeting of Union Pacific Railroad, on whose board I sit. We are incorporated here as well as in Delaware. I think this is where we come to be protected. We run the best annual meeting. There's no protest. It's a great company, and they don't allow that sort of stuff in your city. So Rick, thanks for being here, and we look forward to working closely with you. And Scott, thanks for putting this together and being kind enough to introduce me and invite me. This is and has grown over a number of years to being one of the nation's most prestigious platforms to talk about trade. And if you're talking about trade, you're also talking about investment, you're talking about jobs, and you're talking about our nation's economy. I would also like to recognize Lou Kramer of the World Trade Center and his staff for all of their work. It was only 76 years ago that Franklin Delano Roosevelt proclaimed the first World Trade Week, and he did it because they were in deep trouble and needed a lot of help. A public statement underscoring the importance of trade could not have come at a better time, because a wave of protectionism and isolationism had swept the country. 4 years earlier, elected officials had passed the Smoot-Hawley Act, dramatically raising tariffs on imported goods. Now, let me tell you what that means. If you talk to the head of the Federal Reserve, he wrote his thesis on this issue, and its bottom line simple. You increase taxes and become a protectionist society, you take a recession, and you can make it a depression in a big hurry. This proved at that time to be precisely the wrong thing, and we're sort of bumping along now doing some of the same things, and we better be, to speak technically, very damn careful about what we do in this country if we don't want to reignite some of the serious problems we're beginning to correct. Today, we face very similar situations with the economy on the rope and a lot of choices ahead of us. To us, the choice is obvious. To many Americans, it's a tough call. And to many American policy leaders on the local and state and federal level, it's a tough call because they're concerned about the domestic economy. Just as they did 76 years ago, some are quick to blame trade for our problems. Has anybody stopped to realize, and I'll say along here somewhere, that we're the largest exporters in the world? We peddle a lot of stuff around the world to the 95% of the people that don't live here, and we sure as hell wouldn't want to stop. So as we celebrate this World Trade Week, we have no greater calling than to spread the gospel and the benefits of trade. I can't think of a better way to do it or a better place to come and do it, but here in Utah. I'm not sure that the rest of the world knows that you've got a secret here, and that is you know how to trade. You have very low unemployment. You're creating new jobs every day. And so it's a good place to come here because I'm not being critical. And what we want to say, we will propagate to a lot of people after this visit. If you tell people what's happening here, as you are beginning to do, I think it's a great story. In fact, the state exported goods and services valued at $10.2 billion last year, a 38% increase from the previous year, and a remarkable accomplishment in this economy. By the way, let me congratulate the governor. I think you couldn't have picked a better man to be our envoy and ambassador to China. They can't talk in a room and whisper, and he doesn't know what they're saying because he speaks the language. I spent a lot of time in China. A lot of people there we wanted to sell something to, and there are a lot of people there that would like to steal our technology and our intellectual property, and we have to work very hard to have a balanced relationship with them, and I'm very excited about the governor's appointment. It's also a pretty cool move by the president, you know. Now, he thinks that he put the governor on ice, and the governor's glad to be on ice because he didn't even get in that thing right now. The story of trade and engagement at the national level is equally compelling. About 57 million Americans get their jobs from trade. We don't always notice the fact that millions of jobs, as I mentioned, depend on exports. And we're the largest exporter. And I wanted to say much more than $2 trillion, that's with a T. Well, this new government knows a lot about trillions. They can spend it better than anybody I ever saw. And we're trying to work on that, Rick, you know. Your job's commerce. Your job's not collecting taxes, you know. Now, we all agree that over the last decades, trade has been a huge thing for us. But recently, as the economy went down, a lot of people are running around trying to figure out ways not to do trade, and often we're being led by the wrong people. I can't understand why America's labor unions are running all over the place trying to kill every good trade deal and trying to stop trade when the best labor jobs in this country, the best and highest paid labor jobs in this country are intimately involved in trade. But we'll have that battle, and we'll win most of them. But the bottom line is our future prosperity depends on our ability to sell around the world and to have people from around the world in selling and investing here. Huge amounts of investment. So what do we have to do? First, I'll just say a word or two about the economy, and then I'll give you a few views of what I think we ought to be doing, and then we'll get to the part of this thing I like best, which is the Q&A. So how's the economy doing? Well, it all depends where you live. It depends where you sit. It depends whether you're employed or you're unemployed. It depends how your children are doing. Everybody has a personal view of the economy. On a global sense, we're getting better. The markets are up about 30%, but that doesn't mean they're going to not bounce up and down some more. The banks are doing better. That doesn't mean that they're not going to get hit by commercial real estate and other issues. We're starting to see little improvements in housing. Retail's coming up a little. But we have a long way to go, and we should not screw it up.